The 5 levels of branding. Hi, my name is Fong Chuan. Welcome to another MMMindbites. Today is going to be the very first video of our 12 video series for branding and branding you personally. Now, why is branding so important? Well, last week we just kind of talked about how branding fuels your reputation. It fuels your business. Once you have branding, the branding speaks for yourself. It speaks for you so that you don't have to speak. And that's very important because it sets you up differently than everybody else. It sets you up differently from your competition. It gets you noticed first. Whether you're working at a company, you have your own business, you're thinking about going to business, keeping branding in mind, keeping how to brand yourself personally in mind is very, very important because it really sets you up for reaching the next level. It gets you noticed more because you're different than everybody else who's doing the same thing as you. And therefore, branding yourself personally is very, very important. Now, there are 5 levels of branding, and whether or not you are in business or you're working for a job right now, you have one of these levels of branding. And unfortunately, most of us start off with non-existence branding. We don't really have a brand. We don't really promote our brand. We just don't really get noticed. So that's somewhat of a negative. It doesn't really help you, but it really doesn't hurt you that much either unless you just really want to get noticed. So the first level is actually a negative because it's non-existent. Now there's actually something else worse than that, and that will be a bad negative brand. And that is, for instance, do you know somebody who's always late? Do you know somebody who always can't make a decision? Or somebody you can't really rely on? Well, that is the brand that you gave them. You already labeled those people as somebody who's late, who's not responsible, who's not reliable, and therefore you won't go to them. Same thing for yourself. You need to make sure that you don't have that negative brand. There's lots of companies out there that already has a negative brand, and therefore you may or may not go back to that restaurant, or you might not go to that insurance company because it had a negative brand, or whatever it is that already has that negativity, that bad brand that you won't want to go to. So that's another level of branding that exists, but you really, really don't want it. So between negative brand or a bad brand compared to non-existent, I'd much rather have a non-existent brand. But if you're going to business and you want to get noticed, then you want to get noticed. You want to get to the next level on top of non-existent, and that is existent. You want your brand to be existing out there so that people know that you exist. Now, once your brand is noticeable, or once your brand is existent, then that is the very first level. People know that you exist. However, they may or may not choose you. There's no preference as to you or somebody else. They just know that you exist. They just know that you are there, so that when the time comes, if you're the first person there, they may or may not pick you. So that is the first level of good branding, and that is being existent. The next one is insistence branding. And that is where somebody would actually choose you. So for instance, when there's either Starbucks or Tim Hortons coffee, I personally would be insistent over Starbucks. However, if there is no Starbucks out there, I might go to Tim Hortons. It really doesn't matter to me much. I would insist on Starbucks. However, if it's not there, I could go to Tim Hortons. Same with buying shoes. Whether it's Nike or Puma or Adidas, it really doesn't matter to me. As long as it fits, it feels comfortable, I'll just pick whichever brand. The brands are out there, they're existent, but I don't have that insistence of which brand I want to really go with. And then finally, there's the brand advocacy. Now, this is the level of branding that you want to get to personally because you want people to advocate for you. For instance, there's lots of people who choose Coke over Pepsi. And if there's no Coke, they'd rather not drink any pop anyways because the only pop that they will drink is Coke. And if there's Pepsi, they'd rather not drink it at all. So for me personally, I would always choose, let's say, Batman over Superman, because if Superman's there, I don't really care. I just much rather read a comic book with Batman or whatever it is. I would advocate for the brand of Batman. And for instance, what do you think that you would advocate for? And what do? Do you promote that company? Do you prefer Apple over Samsung? Do you fight for Apple? You rather not have a laptop unless it's Apple. Whatever it is, that is the type of brand level that you want to get yourself to. You want to get yourself to that personal brand where people will advocate for you. So that next time there's a promotion at your job, somebody would fight for you to get that promotion. so that you're the first person that comes to mind when somebody is thinking, who can we put into this next position? When it comes to two businesses, let's say you do house cleaning and there's another person who does house cleaning, how do you get people to fight for your brand, to promote your brand, to always go for your brand and always go for your house cleaning business instead of somebody else? And that is the level of branding that you want to get yourself to. Now, over the next 11 videos, including this one, it's the 12th video. Over these next few weeks here, I'm going to be talking about 10 levels, 10 steps of branding that you can use that will build your brand up to brand advocacy. And that is branding by your achievements or accomplishments. You have message control. You have giving back. You have your mascot or your logo branding. You also have your third-party branding, authoring a book. There's also speaking branding, your media, and also how to brand yourself by association. These 10 steps, these 10 methods will really, really build your personal brand to the next level and get you noticed before anybody else. So stay tuned for our next video, which is going to be on your branding, on your accomplishments and achievements. And we'll see you next time. Remember, today is the day where you can unlock your potential, and I can't wait to go through the series with you on branding you personally. Talk to you next time.